Horror memes might be the most powerful form of storytelling on the internet, and most people have no idea why they work. Because the creepiest thing about horror memes isn't the monster, it's the psychology behind why they spread. Horror memes function like modern folklore systems optimized for adolescent psychology and algorithmic spread. They tap into carnal fear, speculative worlds, and blur the line between reality and fiction. Captivating audiences with alternate reality game vibes and the quintessential forms of instinctual storytelling of lore, legends, and make-believe that the human race has been deploying since we first created language and communication. Memes have burrowed their way into our psyche with long-lasting impact. I'm Hal Hefner, and I'm your personal professor of nerd horror.
Welcome to another episode of Nerd Horror University,
where nerd meets nightmare. In this episode, we are diving deep into the magic of what makes a horror meme so powerful and why these memes are driving the future of the horror genre.
The truth of horror.
Before there were scary stories at scout camps, there were whispered legends amongst townsfolk. Before there were urban myths, there were chainmails and the telephone game. Now, there are memes. Internet horror isn't just random chaos. It's folklore optimized for the algorithm, and kids and some adults understand it intuitively. As other adults try to decode it, teens instinctively participate in it and adopt it as their own. Just look at Kirkify, for example. If we start with the psychology behind memes, we can look to cognitive science and folklore research to see that several things are true. Adolescents have heightened sensitivity to social belonging. The teenage brain is tuned for pattern detection and threat simulation. Shared fear increases bonding through emotional synchronization. Now, what this means is that research on adolescent development shows that teens are neurologically wired for social bonding and threat rehearsal. And horror memes, they combine both. They present ambiguous danger. Then they invite interpretation. When a meme doesn't explain itself, the viewer fills in the gaps. That cognitive effort creates ownership. Ownership spreads the meme. Trying to understand the meme becomes a social ritual. Did you get it? Did you see it? What does this mean? Confusion becomes community. Adoption becomes belonging. Shared understanding becomes a connective bond that builds communities from the ground up. This leads us to looking into how memes spread. Because memetic theory also teaches us several things. That memes replicate like cultural genes. That simplicity and ambiguity increases shareability. Algorithmic amplification favors emotional arousal. This means that horror memes spread because they are incomplete and allow people to fill in the blanks. They don't over-explain the monster, they imply it. The brain doesn't like incomplete patterns, so what it does is it tries to close that loop, and that's exactly why horror memes thrive. That effort makes the meme stick and then travel through personal interpretation, which causes conversation through debate and speculation. On platforms like YouTube and TikTok, speculative content that arouses emotional curiosity spreads faster through fear, surprise, disgust, and mystery. Internet horror memes check all four. And now we look deeper into why this all matters. Because kids aren't just consuming horror memes. They're rehearsing fear inside safe containers with each other. They're practicing pattern recognition. They're building shared mythologies beyond and without institutions. That's nerd horror in its rawest form. It's decentralized storytelling, or something that I teach that's actually called transmedia storytelling. Because this type of storytelling spreads faster than any studio franchise. It's a true form of transmedia, and it really dives deep into what USC and former MIT professor Henry Jenkins defines communities as through the lens of participatory culture, where consumers become active creators, archivists, and recirculators of media. And why is that? Because these communities feature low barriers to engagement, strong support for creation and sharing, informal mentorship, and a belief that member contributions matter, no matter who you are. And memes are a prime example of this. Fans-made creepypasta stories take off not because of the stories, but because of the memes and their own participation in that myth. In my class at RIT, I focus on 3 often misunderstood areas of storytelling that modern audiences engage with but rarely know the difference between. They are lore, legends, and make-believe. Now on the surface, they all seem like the same thing, but they're not. Lore is actually a body of traditions and knowledge on a subject, or held by a particular group, typically passed from person to person by word of mouth, encompassing history, mythology, culture, geography, and backstories. Lore provides the fundamental framework of a fictional world. In legends, they're a story from the past that is believed by many people but cannot be proven to be true. And make-believe, that's the action of pretending or imagining that which is not real. Make-believe in storytelling acts as a key that unlocks a new reality, allowing readers and writers to step beyond the ordinary and explore narratives that entertain, provoke thought, and engage with our deepest emotions. And horror memes are one of the very rare relics in our digital society that combine all of the 3, lore, legends, and make-believe, into a form of escapism which is used in modern stories to ask our communities and audiences to make believe a world is real. Just look at the back rooms. This started off as a meme, then turned into a YouTube phenomenon when a creator put it in Blender and made a whole world based on it. Horror memes are more than just pictures. They are modern legends, lore, and make-believe all wrapped into one. That's why they captivate audiences of all ages, and especially haunt the psyches of children, teens, and those adult horror fans that are in tune with this type of storytelling. And it's driving the future of the horror genre through a for fans by fans thinking and a deep, long-lasting emotional connection. But if we look deeper, we can look and see there is a correlation between memes and reality that hooks people in. For example, the Skinwalker or the Skinwalker dog. Images or short videos of animals behaving strangely, usually dogs with uncanny expressions or unnatural movement, are all about a joke that implies that the animal is actually a skinwalker, a shape-shifting entity from Navajo folklore pretending to be a normal creature that has burrowed its way into the psyche of modern society. And why it works is because it taps into something called the uncanny valley effect, where something looks almost normal but feels really wrong. Then there's That's Not Johnny, a TikTok meme format where someone realizes the person in front of them is not who they think it is. The moment of realization is the punchline and the horror. And why this works is because it plays on identity horror, one of the oldest fears in storytelling. The idea that someone familiar has been replaced by something else. Then we look at front-facing cartoon characters, where it's a distorted edit of characters like Phineas and Ferb, Bart Simpson, or other animated figures facing directly toward the viewer with flattened features and unnatural symmetry that form a horrific composition. And why does this work? Because cartoons are designed to be viewed from specific angles. When forced into a forward human perspective, they suddenly feel disturbing, creepy, and unnatural. Then we look at liminal space photos, which birthed the back rooms. These are images of empty malls, abandoned playgrounds, empty schools at night, or strange architectural spaces. And why this works is because it triggers nostalgia mixed with isolation. And isolation is a very powerful emotional vibe. And that makes familiar places feel eerily wrong. Another trademark of horror memes is the analog horror faces. And these are typically distorted human faces used in analog horror series, games, or style videos. And why these work is because the distorted eyes, faces, proportions create a strong uncanny valley reaction. Again, that uncanny valley really drives home terror in a way that feels relatable yet terrifying at the same time. And then we look to the Mandela Catalog alternate. These are characters that mimic human beings but behave slightly wrong, really building off the analog horror faces vibe as well. And why this works is it because it taps into that same psychological fear behind body snatchers, doppelgangers, and even skinwalkers mentioned previously. Then we look at the intruder. This is a pale, distorted face appearing in low-resolution images or security cam footage. And why this works is it because it uses low-fidelity imagery to force the brain to fill in the details, giving you just a shred of fear where you can fill in the gaps and make it even more terrifying because less is more and you are the maker of your own horror. Then we look at distorted childhood characters, which encompass quite a wide range. These can be edits of nostalgic characters or current people with unsettling expressions or warped faces. And this can be like Michael Jackson or even Charlie Kirk and how they've been used to go into multiple places, especially horror. And why this works is because it corrupts not only childhood nostalgia, but adult nostalgia, turning comfort into horror, and that is the key. And then cursed images. Now these are random photos that feel inexplicably wrong without showing any explicit horror. Again, filling in those blanks makes you rely on contextless unease, and it forces the viewer to imagine the story behind the image, which again, your own imagination can be even more terrifying than something spelled out for you in any lore, legend, or make-believe idea. So now we have to wonder, why memes, why now, and why do they spread so fast? And it really is this simple. 3 traits define successful horror memes. Number 1, low information. The brain fills in the fear. Number 2, familiar imagery. Dogs, cartoons, houses, playgrounds, hallways, all become locations of fear. Number 3, shareable mystery. People share them, asking each other, what is this? And then others fill in the blanks, and people talk and talk and talk. And then this talk suddenly becomes a community. That question spreads the meme. Less is more, and more is not less when it comes to memes. And again, memes are driving the future of horror. Look no further than Skinamarink and the Back Rooms. These are absolutely memes come to life. And you can guarantee that more of these types of films will be coming. And they are leading the way in the same way that the Blair Witch Project once led the way for found footage. This is Gen Z's version of found footage. That's really what this boils down to. But you've got a lot of millennial and Gen X input on it too, because we also love these types of memes. And these memes really embody everything that horror is about. That's why they are leading the future of horror. And we're in it right now. Stay tuned for another episode of Nerd Horror, where I dive back into this subject and dive deeper into the back rooms and figure out what that's all about. I'm Hal Hefner, your personal professor of nerd horror, signing off.
Horror.
Please like and subscribe for more nerd horror. And we also have another channel called Nerd Horror Stories, a twice-weekly anthology horror series that tells tales of the supernatural, psychological, and unexplainable. So please check out Nerd Horror Stories.